Hey, so we're back in the saddle here with the wisdom literature, and we're talking about two really distinct books, really different books, Ecclesiastes and Song of Songs, or in English versions, typically Song of Solomon. The books both claim to be from Solomon's hand, though Ecclesiastes does not claim to be from Solomon's hand explicitly. Conventional interpretations always assigned it to Solomon. There's really good reasons for not believing it's written by Solomon, but either way, it comes to us really highlighting not so much Solomon, but another individual, the primary speaker, Koheleth. You've got seemingly two speakers in the book of Ecclesiastes, one that sort of introduces the book and then closes the book, and then this huge section, chapter 1, verse 12, all the way through chapter 12, verse 7, by this individual named Koheleth, which is typically translated the teacher or the preacher, which could be also the assembler. He looks like a philosopher in a lot of ways. He talks about all of the things that would bring pleasure and how to think about those things under the sun. In other words, an existence where under the sun is the only possible existence, for the human being. The message of Ecclesiastes is you're going to die, and just like everyone's going to die. And so it culminates in chapter 12 with asking questions like, what is the ultimate thing? What is the answer to the reality that I'm going to die? And the answer in the mind of the writer of Ecclesiastes is fear the Lord, honor and obey him for the days of your youth. This is wisdom. This is wisdom, is to know God and to believe God and to enjoy God and to enjoy all the things that God provides you. He talks about a lot of things in the book. One of them that might be pertinent to you, particularly given the fact that so many of you are doing online programs because you're full-time working, is work itself. The work itself can be meaningless. Work itself can be futile. Work itself can be joyful. Work itself can be gratifying. And in the mind of the writer of Ecclesiastes, the thing that demarcates that is how you perceive your work. Do you only perceive your work to be that the thing that you do and grapple with to provide you meaning because there isn't anything else under the sun? Under the sun is the only point of orientation you have, and so it's the only way that you think about life. And the writer of Ecclesiastes would say your work then will probably at some point render itself meaningless to you. But if in fact you see work and family and love and all these things as extensions of in fact a greater and more profound truth that transcends under the sun, then there's a great deal of meaning to be had. As life denying almost at times as Ecclesiastes is, the book of Song of Songs is life affirming. The book of Song of Songs too is typically translated as Song of Solomon, though in the Hebrew text Solomon doesn't appear. It's just simply Shir Shirim, the Song of Songs that you find. That said, Solomon is typically thought of as the preeminent source of this particular work, given his obvious affinity for marriage. He has just tons of wives and concubines in the historian's account of his life. In fact, it was one of the things that actually brought him down to ruin was opening up the floodgates and marrying for just sheerly political purposes and allowing the wives he was bringing in to bring in the religions as well. And so the idea is that this song probably is connected to him. I think it's a really good choice actually, because this song is a wedding song. We have Egyptian and Mesopotamian wedding songs that are just like Song of Songs, with sexually explicit language, with the heightened elevation of the sexual act between the loved and the beloved, and that kind of thing is very, very common throughout the ancient Near East. And so Song of Songs is a wedding song. It's the kind of thing that would have actually been read aloud at your wedding. If you've read it already, then you can only imagine having someone read this while Nana is on the front row. It would be extraordinarily awkward, but that is the case. The initial meeting between maiden and king began in chapter 1, verse 1, and moved through chapter 3, verse 5. And then the bulk of the work is just a very realistic assessment of profound affection that expresses itself in sex. And the concept of this is that sex is supposed to concretize this marriage bond, and this is supposed to be a natural work of the human experience between man and woman that concretizes deeply the covenant that marriage is built upon. Interesting enough, the New Testament doesn't have a great deal to say about Song of Songs. But a Christological read of the New Testament, if you go back in and you ask the question, something like, so who is the king? Here this is the Davidic son. This is Solomon, the Davidic son, who back in 2 Samuel 7 is also referenced as the Son of God, and who is his beloved. And this is the beloved seems to be up in the air, but of course the Davidic king and the Son of God is married in this sense to the people of God, and so Jewish interpreters interpret this as Yahweh in Israel. Christian interpreters like myself will look at this and see an extension of the use of this wedding song to highlight the marriage between Christ and the church, which I think is probably what Paul is doing in Ephesians chapter 5. The emphasis with Song of Songs, of course, is again very life affirming. That those who are involved with, the covenant, that life is to be loved and enjoyed and engaged in with vigor. Sexuality in this it does not even begin to match the caricatures of married sexuality in our modern world. The sex in the book is candid and erotic and engaging and uninhibited. But it's all there in order to concretize this very real covenant. And so the Christological reading of it is supposed to suggest again this candid, uninhibited affection between Christ's people and His church. Altogether, this paints a picture of how to live life. At the beginning of last lecture, I said that wisdom is all about how do you live life. How do you work this out? And I think the answer to that is kind of bound up in the notion of looking at life and learning from life in the context of it not being simply under the sun, as talked about in Ecclesiastes, and understanding that there are competing voices that compete for our own sense of what's right and wrong, our own sense of what's should be followed and not followed, as we talk about in Proverbs 1 through 9, that there is profound suffering in the world, and there is profound joy in the world, like Job and Song of Psalms, and that generates those in covenant with God who have this candid, uninhibited affection for God, that generates in them songs. And sometimes they sing from very light places, as you find in some of the Psalms, and sometimes they sing from extraordinarily dark places, like you find in some of the Psalms. But this rigorous and realistic sense of covenant connection. And I think it can be found really uniquely in the wisdom literature. Well, I hope that you enjoyed that, and I hope that you are having a wonderful day. Take care, guys.